Morgan Thomas Show. Brought to you by Black's Tire Inc.
Here we go. You are watching and listening to the Morgan Thomas Show with Big Al. My good friend and co-host, Alan Adams. Welcome to the show, Al.
More week. All right. One more Monday, right? Is all we got to wait out until we get to see the big matchup. So I'm excited about that. Appreciate everybody joining with us today. We got a good start over here on Facebook, by the way, Morgan. I kind of wanted to show that we have 27 viewers already on Facebook. I see that my wife is watching. Nick Cullen is not only watching with us, he has also already shared the stream. So everybody follow his lead. Okay, that is what we're looking for here. Kevron in with us as always. Kathy Burris, Mark Burris, Walt Craig, Joey Thomas, Al Kuhn. We got a whole bunch of people. Libby McElduff, I think, is with us as well. So we got a bunch of people here, some new names as well. So we appreciate everybody joining you and with us. And, heck, share the show. We want to beat our record last year. As Nick pointed out, we had 158 people at one point watching live. So share the stream and let's see if we can beat that tonight. It's a good week for it.
I like how you threw in last year because it just last week's show, but it is right. Last year, which is crazy. I mean, you That's got right. me there. You know how those people say, like, see you next year, and it's December 30th or 31st. It's like
corny joke, but it works.
But you come from a long line of dad jokes over there in the Adams family.
That's right.
But again, the Morgan Thomas Show with Big Al. We give you our opinions on Clemson sports every week, Monday night, 8:30 p.m. over on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, 105.5, 97.5 FM, The Roar, and really anywhere you listen to podcasts. I think one fan said last week, we're everywhere but TikTok. And if I had the time, we would be on TikTok because Alan's got some dance moves, and Nick Cullen can teach me some dance moves too. So we're willing to learn TikTok. We can get on there. I don't know if it would be if you'd be interested in that, but if there's a social media platform, we might as well just get on it, Al. But we're excited about it because this is another year. We started this off last year when Clemson was in the national championship hunt last year. Now they're in it again, and it's an exciting time for Clemson fans and for us on the show to talk about the Tigers in the national championship. The good guys, the real Tigers, not the yellow, purple, but the orange and purple Tigers. Which Tigers are we talking about? We're talking about the real Death Valley. Well, which Tigers are you talking about? Well, we're talking about the Clemson Tigers. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Got a good show lineup, really all about the national championship. Got a ton of people over on YouTube as well, Al. Can't really say everybody's name over on YouTube. They have some handles, and not everybody jumps in. If you're on YouTube, jump in on the chat. Let us know. And we're on Periscope as well, Periscope, Twitter. If you're watching on there as well, tell us hello. And I got Prince, Randy, Tiger Raven all jumped in as well. I got about 22 people over there. You might have saw the post if you're watching from TigerNet. Welcome. Had a great week, Al, and had a great day, actually. This weekend was my birthday. I don't know if you noticed that. Right. You did give me a birthday call, and I appreciate that. January 4th. I turned 33, so I'm an old man now. My knees have been beating me up for quite some time. But today, I actually got to go to Clemson's Media Day. If you saw it over on my Twitter feed, you saw that I was at Clemson Media Day. Well, I do some writing for Clemson on Sports Illustrated. I started that last month, and that allowed me the opportunity to get a media pass and go to Media Day. Now, I thought there were going to be coaches there. I know you were excited for coaches to be there and maybe Brent Venables to chew me out. Like he did about 10 years ago, but we won't talk about that. But there was no coaches. It was just players, 10 players on offense, 10 players on defense. It was pretty cool to see. They all came out and did kind of a workout drill and some stretches and stuff to kind of show off. And the players loved it. They were just eating it up. Cameras everywhere. I just had my little old tripod and a iPhone, But so I was like small time, but it was really cool. I didn't get a chance to talk to Trevor Lawrence or Travis Etienne or Isaiah Simmons or Kayvon Wallace. Everybody was around them. I mean, it was like all over the place, big time guys around them. But I did get to talk to a lot of people on offense and defense. There were 10 people. I went with the offensive line, and Al, it was a great experience. The offensive line, man, those guys are very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
My first question out the door was, how does it feel? You don't normally play from behind. How did it feel to be down 16-0 and walk out on the field, what was going through your mind? Because I know as a fan now, I don't know about you, but I mean, I was panicking. I was like, this is not good. This is a really good team. It's probably the best team that Clemson has played in a long time, and I was very nervous. But most of the players, I think they've been kind of coached. They've probably been coached on this. Most of the players said, oh, I just focus on the next play, focus on what I'm supposed to do, focus on the person in front of me or whatever my assignment is. I don't look at the scoreboard. But they all felt like neither one of them talked about being from behind. None of them talked about being from behind. I mean, offense or defense. Right. They all talked about sticking together, keeping your assignment, playing as a team, and just working through it. And that's exactly what happened. It's nice to see Clemson come back from behind as much because they haven't done that.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. That's not a position they're used to being in at all, especially not with as bad as the ACC was this year. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about that on this show. And I mean, they were, won most games by 40 plus, except for, of course, the North Carolina game that everybody wants to talk about, that everybody's wanted to point to since the beginning of the year. And that's why we weren't going to do anything in the playoffs, is because, we barely hung on against UNC. It was our loss that everybody wanted to talk about just about, it's kind of the narrative that's been pushed all year. But yeah, the offensive linemen are a group of well-read guys usually. And Dabo, Dabo coaches those guys on what to say. You can just tell from all their answers. They're very vague usually most of the time. It's kind of neat though that you were able to experience that. Rub the elbows. Shake some paws with our fellow Tigers. That was kind of a cool thing. And I heard you even had a little conversation with Don Munson. If you want to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So. I had to kind of, like you said, rub a little elbows. I wanted to try to get the Morgan Thomas Show with Big Al out there, get that name out there. No, not really. But I did. I do admire Don Munson. I've done a couple of play-by-play calls on YouTube for the basketball team, which, by the way, congratulations to the basketball team for beating North Carolina State.
Yeah.
Their first ACC win, and they were leading a majority of the game. So It was really good to see them close it out. Because I told my uncle, I said, after 7 minutes, that TV, there's a TV timeout right at around 7 minutes. And after that TV timeout, it's like the Tigers just go stupid on basketball. I mean, they just forget everything. But this time, they actually got up by 10 after that. And I'm like, well, you get up by double digits with only 7 minutes to go. That's a very encouraging sign. And that NC State team was like 10-3, I believe, going into that game. Clemson had a losing record, 6-7. Now they're 7-7. So congratulations. Great start, not only on my birthday, but, great for Deshaun Watson as well. Hey, 2 great games on January 4th.
Yeah.
Not only was it my birthday, but you had the Clemson men's basketball team get me a win. And then Deshaun Watson does what he does. He, it's the Michael Jordan Houdini moves out there, willing his team to a victory there in the playoff wildcard game. And just doing what we know he can always do. I mean, we've known it. We've seen it. It's nothing new to us, but it still seems like the media is like, how did he do that?
Yeah.
Well, he's been doing that since he was like 18 or really probably even before we saw him, but again, we're talking about Clemson Media Day. I got the chance to go to Clemson Media Day, which is really just about the players, no coaches there. I didn't get a chance to talk to any of the coaches, but on offense, there were really all the offensive linemen. Jackson Carman, man, what a big dude. Just intimidating. I mean, he handled Chase Young. And I asked the guys, I said, what do you prepare specifically for Chase Young? And they said, they do know Chase Young. They do try. I mean, it's kind of hard to emulate. I mean, we've got to give him credit. I mean, he is a freak of nature.
Yeah.
He is a beast. He is definitely a first-round draft pick. He is somebody that, the offensive line, Tremaine Akram and a lot of guys there said, hey, it hurt, when he came at you. It hurt. So he's definitely a great football player. They didn't necessarily worry so much about him specifically because you can't really duplicate. But even though XT said he did try to, in practice, duplicate, be that guy, that was that Chase Young type guy for the offensive line. But the offensive line say, what they try to do is they try to stick to the fundamentals, stick to the Clemson game plan, which, it goes back to that's the media talk, right? It's the same old, same thing that they try to do. But it was interesting to hear from XT, or really, before I say XT, it was interesting to hear from Sean Pollard in the sense that he said he said that he was really excited about and proud of what Brent Venables had done for the team. And I'm like, so you're not talking about your own positional coach? You're actually talking about a coach that's not even on offense? And you're talking about the defensive coordinator? He said, yeah. He said, every day we go into practice, we know that Brent Venables is trying to kill us. He is trying to attack us with every single piece that he can. He is trying to beat us and, pick on them and make fun of them all week and show them up. And so Sean Pollard and the guys were saying, we're so excited about and thankful for Brent Venables in the sense that he doesn't take practice lightly. He actually tries to beat Clemson's offense and frustrate them all week. And so when they go into the game, you can't prepare for specific players, but they went into the game feeling like they had already had Clemson's best, so they know they could compete. Mm-hmm. And that was exciting too to see. On the defensive side, like I said, I got to talk to De'Aaron Kendrick. He's that type of guy. He mentioned about being physical, but also getting in the mental game because he was a wide receiver himself. So he likes to kind of play the mental game with the wide receivers. He likes to let the wide receivers know, hey, you just missed that ball. Or he likes to remind the wide receivers how many times they didn't throw to them. So it's like they're not going to throw to you. Just give it up, I asked him to tell me his favorite Yo Mama joke, and he didn't tell me. That was probably off the list of acceptable answers or questions to answer. But yeah, it was a good time. Man, there's just so many cameras around.
Oh yeah.
I counted like 40 different. I'm talking like on your shoulder type cameras. And then you talked about, I never even answered your question, Al. You talked about Don Munson.
I know.
You talked about Don Munson, and I talked to Don Munson, and he said, I said, Don, how did you come up with that call? The call that was like, we strike gold. The Tigers have struck gold in California.
Yeah.
And he was like, I didn't even prep it. He didn't even think of that beforehand. He just thought of it off the cuff. And I'm like, you got to be really good if you can do that. I mean, just think of something like that. I asked him to tell me what's going to be if Clemson wins, what's going to be like your go-to LSU or Louisiana saying. He's like, I don't have it. I'm just going to go with it. They've actually, Al, Ben Milstead and Don Munson were saying that they have to go to, I believe, Chapel Hill for the basketball game.
Yeah.
And then they've got to go. So they normally go with the football team, but because of the scheduling, they've got to go to the Chapel Hill for the basketball game and then go and to New Orleans. So they got a lot of driving around to do. But again, we're talking about the Clemson versus or Clemson Media Day rather, and we've got about 43 over here on YouTube. Al, ton of people talking. Luke, Randy, Matthew, welcome to the show, guys. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. How many people do you have over there on Facebook, Al?
And we have 60 over here on Facebook. Actually, I saw Chris Hill joined us, and Ty Curtis, and Joy Alexander is with us as well. Dan Cox, James Green, Brandon Freeman, Beth Webb, Adam Holland just jumped on with us as well. So it's good to see all of you fine people out there. I had somebody come in here and say tell you, by the way, Morgan, to take a breath, to take a breath. And I told him he must be new here. Okay, that's not the way the show goes. It's a lot of information. Got to pack it into a short amount of time. So there are no breaths to be had here for sure.
Who needs oxygen? I mean,
really.
if you think I need oxygen, like I say, you haven't watched the show. We're supposed to have a guest caller, Al, around this time. We're supposed to have a special guest caller. I'm not seeing him in the line. So if you're watching the show, 864-772-6674. Let me give him a shout over on Twitter just to make sure. But if not, Al, we may have to jump to segment number 2, if that's okay with you.
I guess it'll have to be. It's a great segment. We got a lot of good stuff to get to tonight for sure. No doubt about it. So while you are giving him a shout over there,
I'll give him
Twitter,
a shout.
If you don't mind, I'm going to kind of give people a rundown of what we're expecting to do tonight. So basically, we have a special guest Morgan talked about. We're supposed to interview here at 8:45. So hopefully we can get him on the line. His former Clemson player, now ACC Network analyst, Eric Mac Lain. So it'll be nice to have him join us. Hopefully he gets on with us anytime. Got a lot of good stuff from him. He's a great interview. We also have a top 5 list we're going to give you. We hadn't done the top 5 in a while, but it's coming back. I love the top 5 list. We will give you our top 5 playoff plays from Clemson, and that can be this year or years past as well. We're not going to go. I don't think either of us had anything from the 81 championship or anything like that, because obviously we weren't alive to see those. So if you have a favorite play from back in that game, you can tell us as well when we go through that segment. And then our last segment, we'll be talking a lot of Clemson LSU matchup, and we'll have special guest Mark Childress on as well. So we have a packed show. It's going to be a really good show, especially if our special guests get in on our special phone line.
Well, I just gave him a shout over on Twitter, so we'll see if he gets back to us and jumps on the line. But Al, let's jump over to segment number 2.
Let's do it.
And let's get this thing rolling. So segment number 2, let me pull it up real quick. Well, before we do segment number 2, I don't want to jump my segment 1 sponsor. So our segment number 1 sponsor, or our primary show sponsor, is Black's Tire Inc., located in Westminster, South Carolina. Family owned and operated since 1971. If you need new tires, brakes, alignment, tire repair, or just looking for a friendly professional to help answer your questions, check out Black's Tire Inc., located 1415 East Main Street, Westminster. Give them a call, 864-647-9292. Let them know that you heard about them on the Morgan Thomas Show when you get your new tire or get your tire repaired or whatever it may be over there. We really appreciate their support of the show. And Al, you know what? I should go. I've been wanting to go there and do a real commercial, but maybe one day. Maybe when we get the budget, we can go and do a commercial there. So let me get over to segment number 2, or we'll say segment number 2. Segment number 1 right now. Clemson's playoff plays, top 5 Clemson playoff plays. Now, you're going to have to make sure you tell us over in the comments. All right. Now, these are playoff plays. Now, we're just picking the college football playoffs, right? We're not, like you said, we're not going back to 1981 or anything like that. So, Al, I'll let you start it off. We're going to start from number 5 up. And as Al does his number 5, I'm going to try to play it without breaking the system. So just bear with us as we do this. Not only do I not take a breath, but I also click 15 things at once. But, Al, top 5 Clemson playoff plays. Let us know in the comments what you think. What's your number 5, Al?
Number 5, I got to tell you before we even start, I'll explain a little bit more later, but we were discussing this before. People are not going to be happy with one omission from my list. All right, so I'm going to get to that later. But I can already tell you, people are going to have issues with my top 5. But as for number 5, I said the Hunter Renfrow tackle after Wayne Gallman fumbled. That was in the 2017 national championship when they were playing Alabama. He fumbled at the beginning of the second half. I think it may have been Clemson's first drive in the second half. Wayne Gallman fumbled. Ryan Anderson, lineman for Alabama, picks it up, starts to run into the towards the end zone, and little Hunter Renfrow, who's about half this guy's size, chases him down and tackles him from behind. It was a fantastic play. The Tiger defense actually stepped up and they held them to a field goal. So that play turned out to be absolutely monumental in my opinion. The whole momentum swung back towards the Tigers there, especially since they were able to hold them to 3 points. That 3 points proved really important there at the end of the game. So it was a huge play, an effort play, very similar to what we saw with Tanner Muse last week as well against J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, and I got it played over here on the screen right now, Al. You can see it. It's from a Twitter feed that I found. I wasn't really actually able to find the actual clip, so I pulled it up from Twitter. So apologize for the, it looks like somebody took a video of a video. So it looks like Hunter Renfrow tackling the linebacker there. And really, Alan, if you look at the replay, I mean, he's a good, what would you say, 6-7 yards away from him. The ball's rolling towards the end zone. Yeah. Hunter just basically has great awareness to see it and sprints towards the end zone, or sprints towards the player, and kind of like, I guess he knows because of his size he can't tackle him, with his arms, so he just kind of dives at him.
Sure.
With the shoulder.
Whatever it takes, man.
Now, I mean, that was a huge play because, if that didn't happen, I mean, those are types of plays that are like huge momentum changing type plays.
Yep.
And that teams really can't afford. Same thing with kind of what happened with Clemson versus Ohio State, and a lot of other times there's a couple of them we're going to talk about Clemson versus Oklahoma, where there were momentum changing plays that were out there. And so that's your number 5.
Yep.
Hold on one second. Eric got back to me.
Are we going to be able to jump back? Can we jump to his interview and then come back to the top 5, or we want to hold him till 9 is the question. These are kind of shows that the producer loves because he gets to make these decisions on the fly.
So what should we do? Hold till 9? I mean, this top 5 is going to take longer than 9. So if he jumps in, we'll bring him on. Let me message him back real quick.
Message him back. See what
All
he
right.
has to say.
So
don't panic over there. I can talk to these fans in the meantime. Adam Holland read my mind. He actually put down my number 5 play before I even said it. I didn't notice until after, so that's pretty awesome. Me and Adam Holland on the same page, which no surprise, brilliant minds think alike.
All right, so let me give you my number 5, if I can even remember my list here. My number 5 was not, and I'm looking at myself in YouTube. I gotta cover myself up here. Okay, all right. So my number 5 is the A.J. Terrell pick 6 against Alabama. And let me pull it up real quick so you can check it out and watch it as I'm talking here. You turn the audio off. A.J. Terrell, pick 6 versus Alabama. The reason why I picked it is because, there's other ones I think are better. That's why I picked it 5. I think there are some better ones out there. But the fact that it was kind of like a huge statement for Clemson to come out, and we, leading up to that game, had heard, just how much Tua was just going to destroy the Clemson defense, and then that was like the first play of the game, for them. Clemson came out and really didn't play very well in their first series, but then came out and scored a quick pick 6 touchdown. And like we said, if Hunter Renfrow would not have tackled that guy, that would have been a huge momentum change. Look at the surrender cobra already from the first play of the game from the Alabama fans. That was a huge momentum changing play, and that was my number 5. But as I'm going to my number 4, let's take a pause, Al, because we are going to pause here.
Let's pause it.
And let's get over to one of our special guests, Eric Mac Lain. He's coming in. He's from the ACC network, and he's on the line now. And so let me bring him on. He's a special guest for tonight, and see if he can hear me right now. Eric, can you hear me?
Hey, what's going on, man? You doing all right tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you for joining our show. We're currently live streaming, Eric. It's me, Morgan Thomas, and Alan Adams over here on YouTube and Facebook and Periscope. We're live streaming to all the Clemson Tiger fans out there. And so we appreciate you getting on the show and joining us and helping us talk about the Clemson Tigers versus the LSU Tigers, Tigers versus Tigers. So thank you for getting in and joining us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on.
So, Eric, we've kind of watched you grow from being a player to where you are now in the ACC network. I just have a couple of questions for you to kind of get to know a little bit about your experience so far. So this really was the first season of the ACC network. What has been your most memorable experience so far on the network?
Yeah, it's been a fantastic year, man. I tell you what, just the people that we've been able to meet, the different staffs that we've had the privilege to work with across the ACC, and really just spend some time with, people other than the Clemson Tigers, which I've known my whole career here, right? So it's been a lot. It's been really cool just to see, number one, how much influence the Paul has, and what it's been able to do throughout this conference. But again, just to meet new people and to have those new experiences. But, my favorite or most vivid memory really was that launch night, August 22nd, when we're sitting on the desk and that red light comes on for the very first time. And, there was 50 people in the room and we just launched a new network. It truly was remarkable to be one of the first faces ever seen on the ACC network. And I'm just, honored, humbled, and blessed to be a part of this team, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're the poster child right now. You're all over every billboard, every commercial. So get used to it. That beautiful smile is everywhere. And then you got honored at the Clemson game, which is really awesome to see you on the field and have Dale Gilbert kind of announce that you were going to be on the cast there on the ACC network. So that's cool. I wake up in the morning and I see you at sometimes, not every day, but I see you over there at Packer and Durham. So I know that's exciting for you, even though it's a little early in the morning compared to your night show on the weekends. But
Right.
I was expecting you were going to say about that bounce that Jock Collinsworth did off of you. I thought that was going to be your most memorable. I mean, you basically knocked him through the wall, I believe, when I watched that. I thought that was
certainly unplanned and definitely most laughable moment for sure. But that's kind of what happens with live TV, right? You never know what's going to pop up.
So Al has a question for you. Al, take it away.
Yeah, Eric, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. First of all, I want to thank you for joining us as well. Obviously you do an awesome job on the ACC network. I love hearing your interviews with Qualk and Kelly, but I'm obviously glad to see that you've taken the next step in your career and joined the Morgan Thomas Show with Big Al. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to take you back a few years, and I have a little bit of a backstory. So bear with me for a minute while I ask you this. But, I wasn't real big in recruiting back during high school, first couple years of college, but I walked into an 8 a.m. class one day in Lowry with my buddy Greg Guerrero, who should actually be watching with us tonight. And he's got his phone open to one of these Clemson sites, okay, that's tracking National Signing Day. And let's be honest, seeing these recruits just kind of pile in one after one was a lot more interesting than whatever the professor was saying at the moment, so we just kind of dove right in. He kind of told me about this big time running back we had a shot with at the time. His name was Jamie Harper. I was immediately hooked as we tracked his recruitment and as he committed to Clemson later that day. So now I have Greg to thank and blame for my recruiting info addiction. But I found my wife later that year, my future wife later that year at Clemson as well, found out the same thing about my father-in-law, Mr. Cleland, who's also watching with us, also a recruiting junkie, loved to give me the latest news and notes and updates about Clemson. So he told me on this, I was sitting on his couch one day, he looks over from his computer, wants to tell me about this absolute stud 4-star tight end from Fayetteville, North Carolina, named Eric Mac Lain. That was back before everybody knew it was Eric Mac Lain, by the way. So we were checking out film at some of the first film I've ever watched, and we just knew that you were going to be the next big thing at tight end for Clemson. We loved your size, thought you caught well, thought you'd be a great run blocker. We were just really excited about what we saw. So fast forward just a few years, you are making your transition to the offensive line at Clemson. So I kind of want you to tell us a little bit about that experience. Who kind of brought that to the table? How did you handle it then? And kind of how do you feel about it looking back?
Yeah, and that's it's such an interesting story because obviously being a bigger guy at tight end, that's what everyone says right away, right? Is he's not that fast, he's not going to work in this Chad Morris offense. Let's put him at offensive tackle. And really from day one, that's kind of what I heard from outsiders, no one on the team, of course, but different media outlets or things of that nature. It's just something that I always not resented, but almost did. I was like, no, I'm going to be a tight end. This is something that I want to do. I obviously have only played that position and maybe some defense my entire career. I have no idea how to play offensive line, so that would be silly to make that transition. And then in 2012, we were playing NC State and really just had a strange number of guys on the offensive line get hurt, and we were pretty thin at the offensive line that year, and it was really weird. Like 4 guys got hurt in the NC State game, and it was just something that really kind of hurt our team a little bit because we had, again, the low number of depth and such small amount of depth that really that next day, and at the time I had bulked up to about 265, was just a bigger guy and could gain weight easily, put on muscle easily, and I lived with 2 other offensive linemen. So on that trip home, I was just talking with them and saying, guys, like, I think I need to help the team and make this transition. And of course, being offensive linemen, they were all about it. So it probably wasn't the smartest thing to take advice from them to make that transition. But then, I thought about it some more, prayed about it, talked with my family, and then eventually went to Dan Brooks, actually, who was my recruiter, he knew how passionate I was about playing tight end, staying tight end. And of course, I'd had the longest relationship with him out of anybody on the staff. I'd known him back in his Tennessee days. And he said, whatever you think is best for you, I know you're going to be successful. I know you're going to be great at it. So after that, I went and talked with Coach Sweeney, and, again, another guy who knew how important it was for me to play tight end to myself. And, he said, I think you can be an NFL tight end. Obviously you're not going to be a guy that stretches the field like some do, but, a big third down blocker, short route guy. And ultimately we just decided it would be best for the team to make that switch. And it was a long process. It took a lot of 6 meals a day, extra lifting, a bunch of different things. But, we woke up 6 months later and I was at 300 pounds. So it was a long journey, though.
Awesome story. And thank you for telling that and sharing that with us, Eric. Again, we've got Eric Mac Lain from ACC Network on. Let us know in the comments over on Facebook and YouTube, Twitter, if you have any questions for him before we let him go. But, I went to the ACC Media Day, or the Clemson Media Day today, Eric. That was at the indoor practice facility. First time I'd ever done anything like that. And it was a great experience for me. I didn't get a chance to meet or really talk to Trevor Lawrence or Travis Etienne because the media swarms around those guys, right?
Right.
But the great thing is they don't really swarm. I guess it's not that great, but they don't really swarm the offensive linemen, and I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. But the great thing is they really understand not only the offensive side of the ball, but they really understand the defensive side of the ball. I had Sean Pollard talking about how he just really valued how hard Brent Venables worked them in practice and how serious he took practice, because they felt like, hey, if we can make it through a Brent Venables practice without looking like a fool, then we ought to be okay in the game. Now, do you feel like that when you were there, is that kind of your experience that you had as far as the practices were as hard or harder than the games?
I think we were right on the verge of that, right? And maybe in a couple of years, like 2014, we had the number one defense in the country. That was a dogfight. Every single practice, it was, you better bring it or you're going to get embarrassed. 15, we were a little bit younger, still had some good guys, but we were younger. But I feel like, 16, especially 18 and 19, I mean, those are the best defenses that they're going to see all year, is what they see each and every day. And you reflect back to some of those Florida State teams in the 90s, practice was harder than any game they played. And I think that's right kind of where Clemson is right now. And I know that they're hopeful to continue that throughout the beginning of this decade in 2020, and moving forward that, they're just replacing and refilling and reloading all over in recruiting, which we just touched on, where they want that competition to be harder than Saturdays. They want Tuesday, Wednesday to be more difficult, more stressful, more strenuous than anything that you're going to see in a stadium that you play in. So, I think that they certainly have reached that level these last 2 years, and they're going to look to continue that.
And I got a fan asking a question over on YouTube saying he follows you on Twitter a lot, loves, following you on Twitter, and he says you constantly talk about how great of a player Deshaun Watson is and was when he was at Clemson, and how he's the best football player you've ever seen. Do you have any stories from your days playing with him or alongside him, or anything you'd like to share with us, any experiences?
Yeah, I can tell you the first time I ever saw Deshaun in a practice, right? He graduated early, spring ball. We're in the indoor facility and doing some good on good. So in spring ball, especially that year, we made all the quarterbacks live. So you could hit the quarterback, tackle the quarterback, because we had a good competition between Chad Kelly, Cole Stout, and this, freshman Deshaun Watson. And really it was going in, it was probably between Chad and Cole. But then here comes this freshman, blazing speed ahead. And so the first time he's in, it's with the 1-2 kind of hybrid group. There really is no depth chart in spring until the end. But we get in and we're running this bootleg play where Deshaun is rolling to the right. And in high school, you're faster, more athletic than everybody. You can just run away escape guys because again, you're faster, stronger, whatever. Well, he's going against Shaq Lawson. Shaq is coming off free up the line of scrimmage because he's unblocked because, again, it's a bootleg. So Deshaun's responsibility is to read that guy. Well, Shaq's flying up the field, and normally what you would expect from a high school guy, especially a young freshman, is for him to try to outrun him, get away, and he would have got destroyed if he would have tried that because Shaq Lawson, as you guys remember and everyone watching, was such a fantastic athlete. But instead, Deshaun kind of gives him a head fake to really sell that he is going to try to run away, and then slams on the brakes. And, of course, Shaq, thinking that he's going to try to out-athlete him, is sprinting as hard as he can and then gets just absolutely, shaken out of his shoes. Deshaun stops on a dime. Shaq goes flying. Deshaun throws it across the field, 60-yard touchdown to another freshman, Artavis Scott. And I just remember sitting there just shaking my head like, what the heck do we have in this huddle? I mean, this guy's going to be amazing, probably the best quarterback ever. And then lo and behold, he has the amazing career that he has and still, leading the Texans in the playoff right now.
Awesome. Al, do you got anything over on your end?
Let's see. We did have somebody get in a minute ago. Let me see if I can find that. My comments actually aren't loading like they were before, but I do have one more question I was going to ask. Clemson, as we know, if you follow the Tigers, they're losing a ton on the offensive line next year in particular. Simpson's gone, Ankram's gone, Pollard's gone, Cervenka's gone. I mean, that's an insane amount of talent that's taken off this year. So kind of, if you would, hopefully we can have you on another time and kind of go more in depth, but give us a little preview of what you think the offensive line might look like next year, maybe a starting lineup or something like that.
Yeah, I think when you obviously look at it, right, there's so much leadership, there's so much, depth, guys that have been playing together for quite a long time, and it's going to be something that they're going to have to figure out, right? It's going to be something that having 4 new starters is really something that they haven't faced with since my senior year. When we had, ourselves going into the starting with Joe Gore emerging as a starter, myself again, Mitch Hyatt, a freshman, stepped up to play. But I think obviously Jackson Carman is going to be your anchor at left tackle, a guy that's played a lot of football, has played very well, and really I think has been a nice surprise and an upgrade at left tackle. I think he's a nasty guy. I think that he's a road grader and a great pass protector as well. And then you move to the left guard. Obviously, Mac Bockhorst is going to step up big, a guy that has played a ton this year and previously in his career. Again, he's nasty. He doesn't care to be friends with you. He's a guy that's going to hit you over and over again, pile you into the ground, and then laugh at you. Going to center, it's probably going to be Cade Stewart, another guy who's had a ton of reps and snaps. He'll be a redshirt senior next year, so to finally get his chance to start, I know how much that means to be a fifth-year guy to finally pave the way and be a starter. Right guard is maybe where there's some question marks. You might see some freshmen or redshirt freshmen step in there. Will Putnam, it was a guy from Florida, really good athlete, a guy who I think could have played a little bit this year. But again, we'll see how well he does if he's there, another one of these great freshmen, because there are a ton coming in this next class that are going to be pushing for starting time. And then you look at right tackle, Chandler Reeves, and I can't remember the other young man's name who got hurt this year. That those two are probably going to be fighting for that starting spot. So it's going to be very interesting to see who at the end of the day, shakes out at the 5 that run out there. But there's no doubt that the future of the offensive line is in great hands with Robbie Caldwell. He is a true genius of football. He knows the game so well, and really does a great job at cross-training these guys, right? He puts them into a bunch of different positions and wants them to be successful until they finally, kind of find a home.
Well, appreciate it again. We're on the line with Eric Mac Lain from the ACC Network. And final question before we let you go and get some rest and start studying for the big game on January 13th, Monday, 1 week from today. Crazy to think, but what's the one key, if you could leave us with one key for the Clemson Tigers to win against LSU? What's the one key that you really want to see from your alma mater?
Well, really, it's just, guys doing what they're supposed to do and what they've done all year in the defensive backfield. You look at Clemson, the number one passing defense in the country, what they've been able to do from an efficiency standpoint, from a numbers standpoint, just execution, getting their hands on footballs and creating turnovers. This is your biggest test of the season, and you wouldn't want it in any other game but the national championship, and you're going against the Heisman Trophy winner, the Biletnikoff winner, the offensive line of the year. So, it's all set up to kind of have that chip on your shoulder underdog mentality. Just absolutely go play focus football. But again, at the end of the day, this is going to be such a great game. I cannot wait to watch it.
Well, thanks again, Eric, for coming and joining us on the show tonight. And we wish you luck and continued success over there at the ACC Network. And again, thank you for coming on and watching and talking to our fans from Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Periscope, everywhere that we have it. We hope to have you again after the Tigers win their national championship rings next Monday. And so we'll talk some more after the season. I'm sure we'll have you on again. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming in on short notice as well. We know you're very busy. But again, Eric Mac Lain from ACC Network, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Look forward to doing it again soon. See you, buddy.
All right. So that was Eric Mac Lain. He just came on. Al.
Yeah, man.
That's some good stuff there. We had a great question from one of our callers.
Yeah.
Or one of our watchers over on YouTube. Thank you so much, Jimmy Fowler, for watching the show and asking a question. Couldn't get everybody's question. Sorry about that. A ton of questions popped up. I wanted to pick the first one that caught my eye, and I thought we'll go with the interview there. But Al, we got 60 people over on YouTube watching and getting in. Again, a lot of people are saying, man, that call was amazing. A lot of stuff. Everybody's saying thanks to Eric for coming in. Like I said, we're the little guys. He's over there at the big 4-letter network, and to join us. But again, to see where he came from, like you said, Al, from tight end to offensive lineman to now on the network and launching the network is pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely. That was a great interview. I knew when you said we had Eric Mac Lain coming on that was going to be great. He does an awesome job. I like listening to all his stuff. We had a lot of people loving it over here on the comments and Facebook as well. So Adam Holland says that was cool. So you guys are a big deal now. How does it feel?
Well, I don't know if I'd say that, but hey, we're going to go on a quick break. We take our little segment breaks before we get to our podcast and for our radio show. These are our little quick breaks. We're going to do something a little different this time. We're going to go on break and just jump into the comment section. We don't want you to leave us here because we go on a hard break and you can't see us. A lot of people disappear. We don't want you to disappear. So we're going to go on break and we're going to talk to you in the comments just for a few minutes, and then we're going to jump back. Another special guest, Mark Childress, should be coming on soon, so we're waiting for him to get on the line. And we're talking about everything National Championship, everything Clemson Tigers. Get in. If you got any questions you want to ask us. I just came from Media Day this morning talking to the Clemson football players on the offense and the defense. If you got any questions, let us know. But we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to finish our top 5 list of best playoff plays from the Clemson Tigers, and we're going to get a call from Mark Childress to talk about the national championship game coming up next week. But we'll be right back after this. All right. So again, this is something new. We're not really gone, Al. I know normally this would be a time where you'd walk away.
Yeah.
But I got if you can see this, I've got little pictures, bottom, right, and left, and then our break screen going.
Okay.
So we're trying something new. I hope you enjoy, us trying something different. We don't want to leave you here. Again, over on YouTube, Al, I've got 62 people watching. Make sure you like the video and make sure you subscribe to our channel. Let me check and see if we have any new subs. Ron, Patrick, thank you so much. Patrick McCall, Ron Wells, if you're still watching, jump in on the comments and say hello to us. Appreciate you joining us. And let your friends know about it. Share it over on your social media, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Thank you so much. We got our normal guys, Carson, Randy up in there, Rusty as well. Appreciate Jillian jumping in. Thank you so much. Al, what you got over on Facebook?
We got about 43 hanging with us right now. Let's see who got in here. Sam, Sam Johns got in with us. I'm trying to think of some of the newer ones that I haven't called out yet. I saw my in-laws join us as well. Robert Taylor is with us. And I wanted to say, I saw Wild Bill, my friend Wild Bill at Four Paws was joining us as well. And I wanted him to know that I did come to see him the other day, and they were not open. It was the new year, and they had not come back on yet. And I'm very disappointed. I really think they should have opened the doors just for me, but I will forgive that, I guess, this one time. And we got Nick came in with a great question. I mean, big surprise, right? Our friend Nick Cullen gets in with a question. Anyone you talk to today have any pregame superstitions? Did you get in any of that with anybody today?
You know, I don't see any superstitions. Let us know over on YouTube or Periscope, Twitter, if you have any superstitions. Nick, this is a great segment by itself because when Clemson was going to the national championship the first time, okay, I would always typically wear the same shirt, but I was wearing the Clemson color underwear, all right? And then Clemson lost against Alabama to that fluke onside kick against Nick Saban, and I said, you know what? Forget it. I'm switching it up. I hate all of our opponents, and I'm getting colors of all of our opponents. So I got black, I got red, I got blue, I got every color that wasn't orange, and I wore the opposite. I believe even had gold for. I do have gold for like Georgia Tech and stuff like that. But wore it. They went to the national championship, and so I haven't stopped since then. And also, I got another superstition. I have this little. I don't have it. I have it over here. I'm not gonna. Well, you know what? I'll go get it. I have this little mini Howard's Rock. Nick knows. He's seen it.
Well, we talk about off script. Let's get off this break.
So I have this little mini Howard's Rock, limited edition, baby, from TigerNet. You know, they're always selling something. I got this little mini Howard's Rock. I like to give it a little rub, you know, touch the rock, point to the heavens, and then I like to run down my stairs.
As long as you're not falling down your stairs.
Nobody can beat that. Come on now. All right. Well, Al, you got anything else over there before we get back into back to serious business instead of talking about this craziness?
I'm actually trying to get a couple of these comments answered, you know, via the text way on here on the comment line. So I'm actually done with that. So I'm ready to rock and roll for the next segment.
Everybody over on chat is saying, Morgan, why are you talking about this? This is ridiculous. You're crazy. Nobody wants to talk about your underwear. And I agree. But we've got Mark Childress on for really segment number 3. We'll have to get back to segment number 2. But let's get Mark on since he's already on with us right now. Mark Childress from the Tiger Tailgate Show and from, gosh, what else does he do? WSPA, Night Sports. He also does 105.5 The Roar. Going to get the Mark Childress Show back up and running coming this off season. Mark, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen, and it's an honor to be here with you always, Morgan. But I'm here with Alan for the first time. You've had me as a guest multiple times. Alan always conveniently misses. So I don't know if I did something right or did something wrong, but Alan, I'm very glad you're here tonight.
Morgan, can you turn him up a little bit? I do think I did hear him there actually, but yeah, you know, it's great to be here. You know, I keep hearing about this Magic Mark guy that Morgan keeps telling me about. So it's nice to have you on the show.
Good stuff. Were you guys talking about superstitions? You could do a whole show on that. You realize, right? I mean, I know Absolutely. I've opened the phone lines on my show on the Roar a few times, and I'm pretty superstitious, dude, about sitting in the same place. I don't really get superstitious about my clothing, but it's more about location and things like that. But man, some people have some crazy stuff. You guys ought to do a couple segments on that sometime soon.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mark. I think that, you know, Nick had a great idea for a segment, even though it was just a fan question. So, Nick, we're going to hold on. We're going to parking lot that, and we're going to hold that on and see. Al, I also turned up the volume. I changed the mic for you, so hopefully you can hear. You know, I told you I was going to change the mic, and I didn't do it. But now I've changed the mic, so hopefully you can hear. Maybe I sound a little bit different to you, but
you do. But Mark sounds good. I'm
sure Mark sounds a lot better now. You know,
angelic voice.
We're working through technical difficulties always. I mean, it's not a Morgan Thomas show without some technical changes here. Every single show. If it's not graphics, it's technical stuff. But Mark, let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's get into the talking points of the LSU Tigers versus the Clemson Tigers, the big national championship game. I know you've been talking about it a lot. I know you got a lot to say, and you've got a lot of studying to do, just like Mac Lain said he did. But first of all, just a light question for you. How much fun do you think this Clemson versus LSU game is going to be? You think that it's going to be one of the best that you've ever watched?
Well, there's definitely a good possibility it could be that way, right? If both of these offenses are playing up to their highest level, this could be an all-timer, right? It could be 49-46 or something like that. I just think that Clemson defense is going to find a way to slow Burrow down enough, hold him to a couple of field goals, maybe even get a pick or two. But I don't know, man. I'm not trying to be negative. You know, when games get hyped like this, I mean, just think about where we were this time last year, right? We were talking about Alabama being the greatest Alabama team of all time, maybe the greatest college football team of all time. Everyone was talking about this epic game that was about to happen. And unless you were a Clemson fan, it was a beatdown. It was not a great game. I don't foresee beatdown next Monday, but it's pretty rare that these games live up to their expectations.
That is true. You know, we've seen a lot of times where it's been a blowout, or I mean, even Clemson's game. You know, that was unexpected, but 28-point win is not something you really want to see. You really want to see what more like Clemson versus Alabama 35-31, or Clemson versus Ohio State, where it was a 6-point win there. You really want to see more of that instead of a big blowout. But talking about that tough game that was the last game that the Tigers played in the Fiesta Bowl. Do you feel like, I mean, all the players told me today that they are beat up. They are bruised. Nobody plays at 100%. That's what they said too. We know that. But do you feel like the Fiesta Bowl may have taken too much out of the Tigers?
You know what? If it would have been the same schedule as last year, where you did not have the 2-week break in between, you know, you would have only had the 9 days, I guess, from a Saturday semifinal to a Monday night championship game, I think it could have an impact. I'm not hearing anything about long-lasting injuries. You know, we know T. Higgins was banged up. We know Justin Ross. I mean, heck, you know, I remember hearing Skowski walking off the field saying, it's, you know, I'm battered and bruised, man, but you know, we live to fight another day. Unless there's lingering injuries, I just can't imagine with that kind of break. I mean, think about, you're essentially having a bye week in between, right? And Clemson had the benefit of having 2 bye weeks during the regular season. I don't think it took too much out of them. I mean, you could argue it up one side and down the other, right? I mean, could you say, hey, LSU coasted. They didn't have to really expend a whole lot of effort or energy or emotion, so they're going to be more prepared? Or could you say, hey, man, Clemson survived, right? I mean, if you're going to win a national championship game or a national championship, you've got to find a way just in general to win one maybe that you shouldn't, or win that super close game that maybe you shouldn't. Clemson getting that out of the way now, you could argue it that it works in that direction. But from a health perspective and being banged up perspective, I don't think that's going to be an issue.
And again, we have Mark Childress on the show joining us, talking about the Clemson versus LSU Tigers matchup, the national championship game coming up this January the 13th. Al, what do you got for Mark?
Mark, like you were talking about, having Brent Venables trying to slow down this LSU offense and maybe get a couple of picks, something like that, something Joe Burrow has not done really this year. It's thrown a lot of interceptions. Look, it's easy to see that when you look at this on paper, how are you going to stop this team? I mean, they seem like an absolute juggernaut on offense. And of course, Clemson is pretty much the same way, but Joe Burrow has been on an absolute another level, of course, winning the Heisman Trophy. There's a lot of talk about the inverted Tampa 2 defense that, Clemson kind of brought out against Ohio State. It's an interesting defense as well. How do you kind of see this Clemson defense attacking the LSU offense? What do you think they're going to do to slow them down?
Well, there's a couple of angles to that, right? So number one, inverted Tampa 2 defense. Yes, Auburn had some success, essentially dropping 8 guys, right? And sometimes only rushing 2 defensive linemen and a linebacker. And they held LSU really in check for the majority of the game, kept LSU below 30 points. And you know that Venables has got to be looking at doing some of those things. I'll tell you, man, I was watching one of the NFL games this weekend, and I don't think we'll see it to this degree. But as we were watching it, I was talking to my son Faxon, and I'm like, I bet we see the Tigers do a lot of this on Monday night next week against LSU. And I'm talking about the Tennessee Titans against the New England Patriots. The Titans ran that football into the ground and kept Tom Brady off the field, right? That's how you win these playoff games in the NFL. I'm not saying you're going to see it to the same degree as you've seen it, but I just wonder if Clemson will really focus on that run game with ETN, and of course now Trevor Lawrence is running like Lamar Jackson these days. Between ETN and Lawrence and Lynn J. Dixon, I wonder if we're really going to focus on that running game and trying to grind out some drives, especially in the first half, to really start wearing LSU down, and most importantly, keep that offense off the field, right? So that's not really what are you going to do on defense, but if you could limit Burrow and instead of having 12 possessions in the game, having 9, just because you really run that clock and grind it on the LSU defense, I think that could be the biggest favor that you could do for Brent Venables.
Yeah, and I like the way you say about running the football as well, because when I look at the LSU defense, they have 2 stud cornerbacks, 5-star guys. They have a stud safety. They have one really good 5-star linebacker. Their defensive line is stacked with a bunch of 4-star guys, but a lot of them are really big, way over 300 pounds, really big, really tall guys. And I'm thinking, I don't see the speed like I saw with Ohio State. I'd like to see Travis Etienne and what he can do getting to the outside on running, getting to the outside off tackle, to the left, to the right. Ohio State, yes, Chase Young was kind of taken out of the game. He didn't have a big stat line, but he sat in front of Jackson Carman for the majority of the game, and Clemson could not run to the left. Now, when you look at the past games, Clemson struggles typically running to the right, and they are very successful running behind Carman and Simpson. Now, you put Young over there, and that hurt their ability to do that. I don't think LSU has that ability to do that, just like Ohio State did. I think Clemson will be able to take advantage of that. And on the flip side, too, if you look at it, I'm hearing people say that, well, if Clemson did exactly what they did against Ohio State, they're not going to win. I would say I question that as well, because Trevor Lawrence is a great runner. I mean, you saw him outrun, like William Quackenbush said, you saw him outrun 5-star linebackers on the Ohio State defensive side of the ball. Even Tony Elliott was like, man, I was just hoping he wouldn't check up. I felt like Trevor was thinking he wasn't fast enough, and he might have went out of bounds. And then when I realized he had turned his hips and he was going, and he high-stepped a little bit, but he didn't even really need to high-step. He was enough ahead of those guys to get right into the end zone without even high-stepping, and that speaks to his speed. I mean, we've seen times where – I can't remember what game it was. I know you're going to beat me up in chat about this, but remember I believe it was the Pittsburgh. Yeah, I know what it was. It was the Pittsburgh ACC championship game when they handed it off, I believe the first play of the game to Etienne, and then Lawrence catches up to him by the end of it and beats him to the end zone or passes the end zone at the same time. And that was when a lot of fans, including myself, were like, oh man, Trevor Lawrence has some wheels on him. So I think, Clemson can win the same way that they won against Ohio State. If Ohio State couldn't stop Lawrence running and ETN catching, I don't think LSU will be able to stop it. You got to have linebackers that can stop ETN. I don't see it. Defensive line, I see Travis Etienne doing well, going off tackle, like I said. But going back to the national championship coming up this coming Monday on the 13th, everybody's saying, well, it's going to be a pro LSU crowd. It's going to be a home game for LSU. Do you think that's a factor for Clemson at all?
I think the fact that it's in a dome and that Clemson fans will be outnumbered because it is in LSU's backyard, I think that could have an impact, right? I mean, that Superdome gets really loud, could move the needle on it. Anytime that you're playing these college games indoors, and I know you see incredible noise. I mean, Clemson's been down to Texas A&M. I was at that game. It's one of the loudest stadiums I've ever been in. They've been to Auburn, obviously playing in Death Valley. It just feels a little bit different sometimes in those domes. So it concerns me always a little bit when these college teams are going in there and it's not something that they're used to. But from a crowd perspective, I think it just plays into Dabo's narrative, right? Nobody thinks we can win. What are we seeing? Like 95% of the money in Vegas is on LSU right now with the points, right? Anytime you turn on the TV, anytime you turn on ESPN on the radio or anything like that, it's all about Joe Burrow. It's all about LSU. It's all about Ed Orgeron and Destiny season, going to win it at home. especially now with the Saints going down, right? Oh, they were going to win one from Louisiana now because the Saints got eliminated on a pass interference. I just think every box that you're checking that could be a negative for Clemson, I just think fuels the beast up even more. I think it helps them, to be honest with you.
And again, let us know over in the comments on Facebook and YouTube if you have any questions for Mark Childress before we let him go tonight. Mark, we talked about a little bit of LSU, talked about a little bit of Clemson, but here's my thing. You know, if you're you're looking at it from Clemson's side of things, what would you be worried about the most? We hope they don't watch this video. We hope they don't check out this clip. But if you're Clemson, what's the one thing that you're I wouldn't say scared, but just worried about?
So I'll tell you what I'm not worried about, right? I mean, I'm guessing, and especially with Burrow playing so late into all these games, I just don't really think there's any wrinkles that LSU's been saving or hiding up until now. So I feel like that gives Venables and everybody a chance to scheme against them. The one thing I'm worried about, and I don't even like putting it out there in the air, is turnovers, right? I mean, Clemson has played almost perfect, mistake-free football on the offensive side for the most part for, 7, 8 games in a row. I mean, Trevor Lawrence hasn't thrown an interception since Louisville in the first half of the Louisville game, and the Clemson running backs haven't been putting the ball on the carpet much either. Or I guess Justin Ross, could you argue if he fumbled? I don't know, but turnovers is the one thing that worries me, is that your number is going to come up at some point, right? And this Clemson team is putting up historically great plus-minus numbers in the turnover column. It's got to end at some point. Now, maybe it ends in 2020. In week 2 against whoever Clemson's playing next year. But that would be my concern, is especially if Clemson turned the ball over a couple of times early and had to chase LSU. You do not want to be in the scenario where you've got to get desperate to stop them or get 2 scores down to LSU and feel like you've got to just throw the ball all over the lot. If this becomes a shootout, one of those 45, 48, 51-point games, that's the game I think that Clemson loses. It's a 20, 25-point game, 30, 35 in that range. Those are the games that I think Clemson wins all day long, and I think they'll do it again this week. I mean, I think it's going to be something like 33-24, something like that. Tigers of Clemson, not of LSU. But the turnovers is the one thing that bothers me.
Yeah, so kind of on the flip side of that coin, what's something LSU should be worried about when the Tigers have the ball?
I think LSU needs to worry about how you can get Clemson off the field, right? And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. They haven't really stopped anybody all season. And if you listen to LSU fans and you listen to ESPN, I know they've had a couple of injuries on defense, right? And you've got some of those guys back. But when you look back at the Ole Miss game where Ole Miss carved them for over 400 yards rushing, right? I mean, look at what Vanderbilt scored 35-plus points against them. I mean, they never really stopped Alabama that entire game. When they played Alabama, including big play after big play, and they don't have a lot of different bodies out there now. So the one thing that we're not hearing a ton about, because you're just getting lost in this haze of Joe Burrow is he the greatest ever, is that Clemson offense, I think, is just about as good as LSU, but it's not all throwing the football. It's not one-dimensional. You've got Travis Etienne, and you've got the ability to do it both in the air and on the ground. So I think LSU would be worried about stopping Clemson, but more importantly, can we stop them on our terms, right? I mean, an 11-play drive with 9 Travis Etienne or Trevor Lawrence runs, to me, would almost excite me more, a week from tonight than 2 quick 35-yard pass plays for a touchdown. Grind that clock, grind that running game. That's got to be what LSU's afraid of in my mind.
Again, we're talking to Mark Childress on the Morgan Thomas Show with Big Al over on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, anywhere you check out podcasts as well. And we're getting ready to wrap it up, Mark, but I got some questions over from YouTube that people really want to ask you. And they feel like that a couple of fans are saying that, do you agree that it's weird or it's interesting that LSU's defense seemed to be an average defense, and now all of a sudden at the end of the game or at the end of the year against Clemson, they're elite and Clemson's going to struggle? Are you buying that they're elite, or do you feel like they have improved? I know a lot of articles I've read saying that you can't go by the way they played, at the beginning of the season or the middle of the season, because they've completely adjusted and now they're a top level defense.
Well, they're not a top level defense. They have been playing better in recent weeks, but let's look who they stopped, right? I mean, they shut down a Georgia team that is just an awful offensive team, right? And Oklahoma's been great this season, but Oklahoma was not great in the game against LSU. And I think some of that was what LSU did on defense. Also just felt like it was some weird play calling, and Jalen Hurts did not look good and looked shaky from the absolute start in there. So what are they? I mean, the numbers don't lie at the end of the day, right? Clemson's top 1, top 2, top 3 defense in the country, and LSU's coming in somewhere between 25 and 30. That's about what they are. They're not suddenly going to come in. I mean, nobody has shut down Clemson in the last 10 weeks, and LSU's not going to suddenly do it this, coming up on Monday night.
Again, we're with Mark Childress on the Morgan Thomas Show with Big Al. Thank you again for coming in, Mark, and joining us and talking about the Tigers versus the Tigers. So let's get an early 1 week to go prediction before we let you go.
Yeah, I was kind of heading out at at the end of it, and if you want my official prediction, make sure you check out the Tiger Tailgate Show. We'll be on from 5 to 7 local time here, the day of the game. We are doing the show from down in New Orleans. I'm going down to New Orleans Monday morning. We'll be down there doing it at the big IPTAY and Alumni Association event. That'll be my official prediction then. I bet it's going to be exactly what I'm telling you right now. I've got Clemson 33, LSU 24.
Well, the good thing is it's the correct Tigers win. And again, Al, do you have anything you want to tell Mark before you let him go? I know that, like I said, this is the first ever meeting of the three minds here, Morgan, Alan, and Mark, all at one night. But before we let you go, Alan, you got anything?
It is. It's been a long time coming for sure. We really appreciate you joining us here tonight. I mean, obviously, I know Morgan really likes for me to be out because he really wants to be tag teaming it with a pro like yourself. But you do an awesome job with what you do, and we're glad you were able to join us tonight. I was glad I was able to be here for once.
Yeah, no doubt. An honor to be with both of you guys. And hey, season 2 of the Mark Childress Show on the Roar kicks off Wednesday night, 7 to 9. I'm moving from Tuesdays to Wednesdays for 2020. So, Morgan, I think I'm going to have you on for a few minutes on Wednesday night as part of it. But make sure you guys check it out. The Mark Childress Show, either on the Roar's Facebook page or on the Roar, Wednesday night, 7 to 9 all year. Such creativity.
Yeah.
We do these. You talk about our show doing these jam-packed type things nowadays. Mark has a jam-packed Tiger Tailgate show for sure.
Yeah.
And so he does a lot of research for every game and coming up this weekend or this Monday. I keep saying this weekend, but this Monday, man, they just drag out these. You know, Alan, this season has been crazy long. We're talking about Clemson played a Thursday night in August, and now they're playing a Monday night in January, the third week of January. It's crazy. It's crazy how long Clemson has played. But thank you again, Mark, for coming on. Al, let's
Morgan,
check.
turn your audio back on, brother.
We're on. Oh, sorry.
They're saying they can't hear you on Facebook.
All right, Facebook. I think you can hear me now. I see the thing going now. So I think I missed it at first, and I clicked it. I don't know. Well, anyways, like I said, technical difficulty number 2. Let's write it down. But again, thank you so much. We got about 57 people watching over on YouTube. Appreciate for the support over there. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel so we can check you out and so you can join us on the show. How many you got over on Facebook?
We got about 32 over here on Facebook. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anybody I haven't called out. I see Walt Craig with us. I think I may have called him out earlier, and James Green. I saw my sister jump on at one point. So a lot of people here, a lot of activity on the comments. So it's good stuff tonight for sure.
Yeah, we're kind of bouncing around. We originally had Mac Lain jumping in, and he was a little bit delayed, but he got in a little bit later, and so we got him. So if you missed anything from our live show, you'll be able to get our clips later on this week. And then we kind of got started in our top 5, Al, but then Mark jumped on, so we had to finish up Mark and do that. So I appreciate it, everybody that's jumped in and watching us. And still with us, man. We got a ton of people still with us. Al, so it's 9:40.
Yep.
Do you want to chug through the top 5?
Yeah, man. We got people begging over here on the comment line to finish the top 5. So we may want to do an expedited top 5, but we got to finish it, I think, nonetheless.
Yeah, I don't like not finishing anything we started. So we're gonna keep back up with our top 5. Again, thank you so much. Before we jump over to our top 5, let me think about our sponsors that we have. So we have Tiger Sports Shop. Tiger Sports Shop is a sponsor of our clothing sponsor. Alan's wearing some gear from Tiger Sports Shop. I'm wearing gear from Tiger Sports Shop. If you need any apparel that's Clemson apparel, go check out Tiger Sports Shop, tigersports.com. They're downtown Clemson as well, Tiger Sports Shop, and they're on Tiger Boulevard. So go check them out. They got a ton of stuff over there. They are kind enough, Julie and Sean, to support our show. They believe in what we do. They love the show, and so they wanted to outfit us since we kind of are a video show. They wanted to outfit us and not just let us be our sponsor, let them be a sponsor, but they wanted to show off some of their Tiger Sports specific lineup. And this is their like exclusive Tiger Sports shirt. And Alan's got an exclusive Tiger Sports Shop line as well. So go check them out. Let them know that you heard about them from the Morgan Thomas Show. Or if you want to check them out, if you're not in Clemson and you want to order online, it's tigersports.com. Don't just dress for success, but TS for success. So make sure you do that. We got some LSU Tigers in joining us. They must have typed the wrong Tiger in order to get into this. I don't know how they found this show, but we appreciate the LSU Tigers, just not on the 13th. Al, so let's get back to segment number 2, and we'll get started, and then I'll let you do the final. Well, let's just go ahead and do the final sponsor, so we'll wrap it all up.
Yeah, sure. It's usually our segment 3 sponsor, but we do want to tell you about one of our other sponsors, Heating Cooling Services, Inc. They're family owned and operated, serving Anderson County and surrounding areas since 1980. Heating Cooling Services, Inc. is your residential and commercial comfort expert. Anything from preventative maintenance of your home HVAC system to overhauling a commercial chiller or anything in between. If you want to breathe easier and be nice and cool in your home or business this summer, give Heating Cooling Services, Inc. a call. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll want to get in touch with Mark or Jason Trammell. Their number is 224-7655. Again, of course, that's area code 864-224-7655. I've done business with them. They do good work. I love doing work with good people, okay? It always gives you a good product in the long run. So call Jason or Mark. They will take good care of you.
And again, thank you for sticking with us through the technical difficulties and through all the mix-up that we had and the not-so-smooth show, but we're having a good show. We're enjoying it over here. Alan, recap where we're at so far. So we started with our 5th pick, right?
Mm-hmm. 5th pick. So my 5th pick was obviously the Hunter Renfrow tackle after the Wayne Gallman fumble. Big moment in the 2017 National Championship game.
And then my 5th pick was the A.J. Terrell pick 6 that kind of started off the national championship blowout there. Just kind of set the tone for the rest of the game. So I put that up there. That was my number 5. We're going to go from 5 to 1. Let us know in the comments. Again, we're going to get started back up. Let us know in the comments what you think your top 5 all-time Clemson playoff plays have been. Man, 4 out of the last 5 years, they've been in a national championship game, so there's a lot of playoff games to look at in just a short amount of time. So let us know what you think. Alan, what's your number 4?
Number 4, I actually cheated a little bit on number 4 because it's 2 plays. So I know you wouldn't be real happy about that. But Mike Williams, I gave him credit for his 2 catches on the final couple of drives of the national championship that same game. I mean, he was just an absolute beast. He had like a catch of 24 and 26 yards. He went up over defenders, made a huge play, a very physical play. We're going to need, I think, similar plays from Higgins and Ross in this game here coming up on Monday as well. But 2 absolutely huge plays, very impressive. It's what Mike Williams did. I'm sure he's going to kind of get back to doing that same thing in the NFL here soon as well. But just amazing plays, as you can see.
I kind of jumped over to Mike Williams on a YouTube channel here so you can see some of the plays that Alan is talking about. I mean, he just jumped over guys all night in that game. It was really great to see. Now, he didn't make every play, but we just saw Mike Williams make a huge play over the defender to the left, and then we saw another play where Jordan Leggett made a play right after that. Mike Williams, another key play you didn't talk about that wasn't a catch. He had a pass interference with 6 seconds to go that they tripped him up. And kind of set up that end there. I was trying to find that play that you were talking about where he was kind of over the middle and grabbed it. Here it is. Here it is. Let me rewind this one here. This is the play. This is that first one before that where Deshaun goes with the play action, backs up, chucks it down the field. I mean, he just makes a basketball player type move over number 26 there, Humphrey. I mean, look at that. Turning his hips, looking backwards. Doesn't initially catches it. Has to, like, tip it, kind of a tip drill to himself, and then drops on the ground. I mean, man, what a great, amazing wide receiver. And Lee catches it between his legs on that play. What an amazing wide receiver Clemson had during that time frame. I mean, I could just watch this all day, Al. I really could.
Oh, yeah, it's good stuff, right?
I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. Let us know what you think about those catches from the national championship game against Alabama, where Clemson won their second title in history there. For me, number 4, let me see if I can pull it up here. If I even have it. Here we go. It's really good for 2 players. This is Clemson versus Oklahoma, 4th and 4, second quarter. Oklahoma is kind of having their way with Clemson so far, but it's the Christian Wilkins fake punt catch against Oklahoma. Not only was it kind of Christian Wilkins' like wow moment, but it was Andy Teasdall's like redemption. You remember earlier on in the year when he tried to do some sort of fake pass that nobody knew was going to happen?
Oh, yeah.
And then he just got lit into by Dabo Swinney. Well, let's watch it here. Let me turn the audio down. Let's watch it here. We're watching it over on our YouTube channel, over on YouTube here. Teasdall goes to his right, fakes to his right, and passes it to his left. Look at number 42, big fella. And he almost doesn't get tackled to take it to the end zone there. He almost took it all the way out. But he tiptoed kind of out of bounds there. I mean, I could watch this play over and over too, man. Just look at that. I mean, there's nobody within 6 yards of him. Catches it while turning around. I mean, that's like a Mike Williams play we just saw, but from a guy who's over 300 pounds. Awesome play there from Christian Wilkins. And we're, so thankful that he was a member of the Clemson Tigers football team. And that really, Clemson was down 7-3, as you saw there. Mm-hmm. And really, Baker Mayfield was doing some things. Mm-hmm. They were having a lot of success. Clemson was not really getting anything going. And that kind of sparked them there. That was a huge play. A lot of people say, 4th and 16 was a spark play for Clemson's dynasty. You could say, in a lot of ways, this play was very key for Clemson continuing their run into the postseason, now 4 out of the last 5 years. So that was my number 4. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree, if you like that one, or if I'm too low on that. That might be a higher up one. Number 3 for you, Al. What you got?
Well, actually, I have the Andy Teasdall pass to Christian Wilkins, so it's good that you just remember it all. So we can actually kind of skip over that for the most part. I just thought it was a real special play. Andy Teasdall crushes the throw. I mean, it was right in the bucket there for Christian Wilkins. Of course, Christian Wilkins looking like a receiver that could start at, most places. It was a great play. It was a huge momentum swing, in that game for sure. Like you said, Clemson had just looked like they weren't able to do much, and that kind of sparked them. They had a few drives there, or a few set of downs there that they actually were moving the ball, and then they stalled in the 44, and you're thinking, goodness gracious, we were, so close to at least getting in a field goal range or something like that. And that kind of play happened. Obviously, they went on to score a touchdown. So huge play, number 3 for me.
So that's number 3 for you. All right, so I'm going to give you my number 3. As long as I can you got to make sure I keep these numbers right. I get kind of mixed up with these top 5s. So it's my number 3, correct?
That's right.
All right, so my number 3, I didn't originally have this one, but the Ohio State game was such a great game, and I was going to give a lot of credit to Trevor Lawrence, the MVP, but after media day and hearing all the offensive linemen talk about how demoralizing this was to the defense of Ohio State, and it was really the beginning of the end for Ohio State. Clemson's offense started to figure out what was going to win, and what was winning was not only Trevor Lawrence running, which I may or may not talk about a little later, but Travis Etienne catching. So let me pull this one up for you. 8-yard. It's just an 8-yard catch. But man, oh man. I guess you could really say it's an option. High fives the number 4 safety, throws him out of the way, and really, if you count it up, Al, it looks like 7 guys don't tackle him right there. All right, so let's go back through. He options it over. You got 4, 54, and then 3 guys behind him, and then 39 hustling to try to get in on it.
Yeah.
Etienne's like, okay, I got to size up the first guy. Now, he's he's kind of dead to rights. He's kind of two or 3 yards in the backfield because it was 3rd and 2. So it could have easily been 4th and 4 or 4th and 5 after this. He tries to stiff arm at the same time number 4 tries to tackle him. They both what are the odds you grab each other's hand like that? I don't know, but grabs his hand, throws him out of the way, off balance. Sean Pollard even told me, he's like, I don't even know that it was like a blur to him what happened. He's like, I'm running over there. I think Travis is going to get tackled in the backfield. And then all of a sudden he's in the end zone and I'm giving him a hug. And he said that was really a big momentum shift for him because it was 16-0 there, Al. It was like, doom and gloom. Maybe this is over. Maybe this is it. ETN gets in with authority. And again, another spark play for the Tigers in the playoffs. Yep. So I like that. So that was my number 3. What was your number 2?
Number 2 is the one you mentioned previously as well. It was the A.J. Terrell pick 6, 2019 national championship game. Alabama had forced an immediate 3-and-out, when Clemson came out of the game or came into the game. And it was just like, oh gosh, here we go. It just didn't look like it was going to be good. And they, of course, on their first 2 plays, they got several yards. I think they had about 8-yard play and another 12-yard play. So they were just kind of moving right down the field. And then AJ just kind of sits in that zone, watches the quarterback the whole time and jumps the route. Immediate momentum swing, huge moment in the game when things did not look like they were going to be going well real early. So it was a big moment. And I think that's one of the main reasons I put that so high up on the list is because we all know the rest is history after that. Clemson went on to completely dominate the game in the end. So it was a good start from Terrell.
There's kind of a theme going on with our picks. I'm sure Clemson fans would agree with us. There's kind of a theme of just sparking plays.
Right.
And again, I talked about the spark of Christian Wilkins. We talked about the spark of A.J. Terrell. Let's talk about the spark. We talked about the spark of Travis Etienne, but another spark. This was one to not only, build. It was just really not a spark to get them scoring, but it was kind of a follow-up to what we just saw with Etienne. This is my number 2, and that is Trevor Lawrence's 67-yard run. Quarterback draw up the middle, jukes the guy out of his shoes, slips down, falls. Now, I'll tell you, the field for Fiesta Bowl was horrible. I think everybody will agree. But still, it's really cool to see somebody just fall down like that. Look at his mama. So proud mama moment there. You got to love that for Trevor Lawrence there getting that touchdown. And he's a huge dude. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to ask him any questions today at Media Day. But, 6'6", 215, 210, 215, right? He is a big, giant dude with beautiful flowing hair, and he just owns a room, man. And he just feels like he's been there before, like it's just natural to him. He doesn't seem to have bright eyes or deer in a headlight type moments. He just he's got that Deshaun Watson about him. Would you agree?
Yeah, no doubt. He's definitely got that competitive spirit for sure. He took that game over. I absolutely loved his performance in that game. That's actually my number 1. I want to go ahead and tell you that is my number 1 play, and that's another reason people are going to be upset with my list. And I told you I'd explain that later, and I will, because everybody I'm sure was thinking Watson or Renfro was going to be number 1 on both of our lists. Trevor Lawrence 67-yard run was my number 1. Ohio State had all the momentum in that game, even after Travis Etienne did kind of break through and score that incredible touchdown of his. After an incomplete pass to Overton, Trevor Lawrence steps up into the pocket, takes off, jukes the guy out of his shoes and gets to the edge, fakes another guy out, gets to the edge and starts taking off. I give him some extra points at the end because he does a little bit of a high step there to try to make sure nobody's nipping at his ankles and kind of swats him down from behind. I was very, very pleased to see that because I like to see runners do that. I hate to see somebody tackle from behind right for the end zone, and he didn't allow that to happen. So that was a good thing. But just a big momentum thing, again, like you were talking about. It brought the lead down to 2 going into half, just in a much better position than it looked like Clemson was going to be in after the bad start in that game. So definitely my number 1 play. It probably has something to do with the fact that it's a little bit fresher in our minds as well. But a good play and something that Clemson fans will remember for a long, long time.
Yeah, and I'm just playing this over and over and over. I hate it for the people that are going to be listening to this on podcast because you're not enjoying this. If you're listening to it on podcast and you haven't checked us out, or on the Roar, if you haven't checked us out, the video version, which is really how we started and what our main show is on Facebook or YouTube or Periscope, Twitter, you gotta check us out because, man, these plays, I could just watch these over and over.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it was a design play. He takes it perfectly, takes on the safety perfectly, baits him, and then takes it to the edge, the sideline, and just follows it in with a little bit of a high step, a little bit of a bring it on, a little bit of pumping up the crowd, and Mama and the cheerleaders are loving it, and the Tiger fans, Tiger faithful, were loving it as well. For me, since you didn't do the game winner, the Renfro Watson to Renfro, I'm going to do it for you. All right. So fans out there, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, if you're mad about the fact that Allen didn't do Watson to Renfro to get Clemson back into a national championship win and give them another title into their trophy case, here it is. And a great play. They had done it earlier with Mike Williams and Jordan Leggett. They just kind of changed the personnel, moved Gallman out, kind of did a little X motion there or X movement there, crossing route between Scott and Renfro. Now, a lot of people like to call it a pick play. I'm not calling it that. I'm calling it a crossing route where the player just ran into him.
Right.
But I will say that it was a beautiful play. I was there. You were there. Tears flowing from my eye, man, to see that happen. And not only that, just how historical of a moment, a 5-star quarterback throwing to a walk-on to win the game with 1 second to go against the juggernaut, the dynasty, a team that could not be beaten by anyone in the SEC.
Hey, can you turn up the audio on that play? People are wanting to hear the audio.
People want to hear the audio of it. All right, well,
not that they don't love hearing you, but they really want to hear the audio.
If ESPN calls me and wants royalties, I'm going to call y'all. All right, so here we go. All right, here we go.
If Bama can hold them out, perhaps a field goal attempt for overtime. Watson, touchdown! Hunter Renfro. Little man makes another enormous play. 1 second remaining.
Man, I'm literally getting teared up right now.
That's a big play, man.
What a huge play. You guys trying to make me cry here. You're just trying to make me get emotional on my own show here. I appreciate it. Go Tigers, man. So much of an impact that play was, that 1 second play. And really, to be honest with you, Al, it's more than just that one play, that drive up to it. Like you said, the Mike Williams catches. I mean, we're talking about top plays that were part of that one series. And we really could even say honorable mention Jordan Leggett's, whatever you call that backwards catch, spin-a-rooney.
Absolutely.
Full
back extension, arm. Brother.
What? Do what?
Yeah, that was absolute full extension. That was actually on my list for the longest time, and I took it off. I had honorable mention Jordan Leggett catch, Ross's catches, the one-hander and the ankle breaker, and Deion Kane, the screen pass that actually got us going in that first championship game. But my first honorable mention, of course, was watching the Renfro, that very play there. And I'll tell you why I didn't pick that. Look, I went all out trying to pick out these top plays and what went into my picks. And the reason that I didn't pick that, it was such an easy play, and Alabama made it so much easier. Watson rolls out to his right. Hunter Renfro is wide open, and it's just a simple pitch and catch, okay? Mike Williams made an incredible catch over these defenders. Lawrence made moves that he wasn't supposed to be able to make and, left the defensive behind. So I'm giving him a little extra credit there in all those other plays. But obviously, what a play for Clemson. What a huge moment for Clemson. And that weighed in there as far as, making my top list, but I didn't put it on there simply because of that. And I knew you were going to have that as number one as well, so I wanted to change it up a little bit. But, man, it was great. The Alabama defender kind of engaged Artavis Scott, who was trying to make that make the screen, a little pick play or a rub route, whatever you want to call it. And it made it easy. It made it wide open for Deshaun Watson to hit Renfro for what will be an iconic Tiger moment for a long, long time.
We got a lot of chat going on about the fact that, Clemson doesn't play anybody. I thought we had moved on from this. I mean,
Yeah.
we just watched a play. This team right here has really, I would say, not as good of an offense. And I don't know. I don't know about the defense. It's still hard for me to say. The defense is definitely overperforming the types of players that are on the field.
Definitely.
But this offense is not as good as Clemson's offense now. Deshaun had to do more with less in a lot of ways, in my opinion. But they were able to go out and take it to Alabama, which is a team that people said nobody could beat. That was the best. Clemson did it against Ohio State, the best of the best. You could say all these excuses. You could give me a million excuses, but at the end of the day, the scoreboard is what the scoreboard is, and the team that was the better, that played the better, had the better game plan. Maybe not the better players, had the better game plan. Mm-hmm. Now, how are you? Again, I go back to the guys in the chat that were saying this before. How can you say that Clemson versus Ohio State just a few weeks ago was really the de facto national championship game because they were the two most complete games, and now you're saying Clemson has no chance?
Right.
How does Clemson go and beat Ohio State minus the calls? Beat Ohio State, holding them to 2 touchdowns, one which was like a garbage 4th and 2 touchdown on a rushed 4th down play, desperation move. I don't. To me, and the other one was just a busted play, Al.
Yeah. A
literal busted play for 60-something yards.
But they still count.
They do count. But I'm saying, it's not like Ohio State methodically just destroyed Clemson up and down. They just luckily got it because of one penalty.
Sure.
A lot of things happen. Now, between the 20s, I'll give it to you. They had 519 yards between the 20s?
Yeah.
But what happened when they got to the 20s? Clemson stood up. And when I talked to the Clemson players today, I said, when you looked up at the scoreboard, I said, how did you feel? It's down 16-0. It did not matter. We know that the best team that we play against is the team we play against in practice, and we just remember that, and we believe in what we do. We believe in what the coaches tell us, and we do what we're told, and we play Clemson football, and we fight through, believing in yourself, playing as a team, and winning the game. That's what Tigers do.
Yeah.
That's what the Clemson Tigers do. I don't know what LSU Tigers do because, believe it or not, LSU is not the team that's been here 4 out of the last 5 years.
Right.
Believe it or not. Now, I know everybody likes to say that they are. I mean, I know Joe Burrow has 5,000 yards passing, 5,100 yards passing. I know it. I get it. I know he's awesome. But I just don't see a blowout on LSU's side. I'm sorry. I don't see it.
Yeah. No, I don't see a blowout either.
I can't read chat while we're doing the show because I just got to go. I just got to say something. I can't leave it alone. But anyways, I love chat. And even if you're an LSU fan, it brings up great stuff. I think it's going to be a great game. I hope it is a great game. I hope that it's a great game with a Clemson Tiger win. And I'm going to go ahead and say that I think that I don't know what the score is going to be, but I think the Tigers will win by a touchdown. Give me Tigers plus the points because, hey, I'll take the points if they're going to win anyways.
Yeah.
So, Alan, that's my prediction. I'm not very good at predicting the actual score.
Yep.
Because I was way off last week or 2 weeks ago. I was way off.
That's okay.
What are your thoughts on the game?
My thoughts are pretty much the same as yours. I have Clemson winning by a touchdown as well. I have Clemson 41, LSU 34. I think LSU is going to be able to move the ball. I think it's going to be about how many times Clemson can turn them over or how many times they can stop them and hold them to field goals as opposed to touchdowns. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I think the receivers are going to have big days. I also think Etienne is going to have a big day coming out of the backfield, as well as their running back as well. I mean, it's going to be a big day for the receiving threat, no doubt about it. But I think Venables will find a way, as he usually does. So let's get this thing done. Clemson wins back-to-back national championships. It's going to be awesome.
It's okay that we went a little long towards the last couple of games of games of the season. A lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. So it's been exciting. Al, man, this is the last show. So if fans are wondering, are we going to do a show Monday night? Al, do you think we're going to be doing a show Monday night?
I will not be doing a show Monday. You may be planning on doing a show.
I would be the guy that would do a show during the national championship. But I'll tell you, if I could give you any advice as a Clemson Tiger fan, if they do it again, which I think they will, tune into the ACC network, because Chris and Kirk kind of got on my bad side last game, talking about all the things that Clemson did wrong or were doing wrong. And I really feel like Chris Fowler's kind of got a little bit sarcastic towards Dabo Swinney.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of iffy on Chris Fowler right now with his attitude towards Dabo. But I still think they're the best in the business.
Yep.
But if you're a Clemson fan, it really did me better, did my blood pressure better to listen to Don Munson. I told Don that today. I said, hey, when the game got really close, when I got really stressed out, I tuned into you. It calmed my nerves. I listened to you and the other former Clemson players there that joined him. And it was really a better broadcast because I want to hear from the Clemson angle. I don't really care to hear about all the things that Clemson does wrong. And really, if LSU decides to rush or speed up the play again, like Ohio State did, that's the problem with ESPN and Kirk Herbstreit. Kirk Herbstreit wants to replay every single play. Even if it's a false start, he'll go and replay it. And it's like, well, if Justin Fields is doing hurry up, guess what? We just missed the play because Justin Fields has already hiked the ball and you guys are talking about the last play. So I'd say that to give you my pitch towards the Roar broadcast, the Clemson Tiger Network broadcast on ACC Network. Go check them out. I really, really enjoyed it last time with Don Munson and them and those guys over there. We got 63 people over on YouTube. I think this is the highest we've ever been on YouTube. If you are a new subscriber or maybe you're not a subscriber, please make sure to subscribe. We got a ton of Clemson content. If you're a Clemson Tiger fan or just a college football fan in general, I think you will enjoy the show. We try our best to be completely biased towards Clemson. So, join us if you want to get this angle. Now, with that in mind, don't get in the comments and say, man, these guys are really biased towards Clemson because my show colors are orange. I'm wearing Clemson gear. Alan's wearing a Clemson hat and a Clemson shirt. And we're talking about Clemson and all things Clemson. And we're based in Clemson. So if you want to get Clemson stuff, tune in to us over on YouTube, Facebook, The Morgan Thomas Show, Twitter @Clemson Morgan, @Clemson Allen. We all know that's a joke. But check us out over on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Periscope @Clemson Morgan as well. Al, how many people do you have over on Facebook before we close it up for the night?
We still have 27 hanging on with us, which was some of the most we've had in a long time, hanging with us for the end of the show. So we really appreciate everybody who stuck with us through the whole show tonight. It was a great show. Obviously, the two special guests were incredible. We hope to have them on again soon. So we appreciate all the support and all the love. Again, like Morgan said, get in on any of the platforms we're on, ask questions, be engaging on the comments. I try to respond to as many as I can, try to give as many shout outs as I can as well. So Morgan does a good job of making sure we kind of give the love to our fans that they need. So we appreciate all the support.
Oh, man, people are over here having a great time with that. But again, thank you so much for joining us, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, or listen to us on a podcast. This is the last show. We're not going to do a show for the national championship game. We hope you enjoy the national championship game with your friends and your family. Or if you're in New Orleans, give us a shout out. If you're watching us or listening to us, again, thank you for the support. Subscribe, follow, whatever you'd like to do. We'll see you hopefully in 2 weeks as the Clemson Tigers celebrate their national championship win against the LSU Tigers. And as Randy said, we'll also be picking up more coverage for the Clemson Tigers basketball team, who just won their first ACC game against the North Carolina State Wolfpack. So got a lot of stuff to pick up. Al, people love our recruiting analysis. So we're going to be picking up more on that as well, too. So lots to come in 2020. And we've got some things in the books to try to get live in studio. So Alan and I will actually be together in the same room. If you didn't know, we're in completely different cities right now and completely different counties. So this is all smoke and mirrors on our end. But again, thank you so much for the love and support, Tiger fans. Before I let you go, I wanted to say a final end of the season thank you to everybody at the Roar, Ben, Deb, Mark, John, all the guys that help us out, guys and girls over there that help us out to get this show on the roar. Thank you to our sponsors, Black's Tire Inc., Tiger Sports Shop, Heating and Cooling Services, and Buffalo Wild Wings. I didn't mention them, but Buffalo Wild Wings of Greenville, South Carolina on Woodruff Road. Thanks for sponsoring our call-in number. We hope you enjoyed watching and listening to the show. That's it for this week. I am your host and producer, Morgan Thomas.
I'm your co-host, Alan Adams.
And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.